Hi everybody, my name is Hannah and this is Pepper and Pine, and welcome to the Homeschool High School series. To see more videos in this series, you can tap the playlist at the end of this video. That link is also down in the description box below. Today we're going to talk about concurrent or dual enrollment for your high school students who wish to take community college classes. There are a lot of pros and cons to this, and I want to break down the process of doing this and if it's going to be a good idea for your family. Now, this information is relevant for students in the US and more specifically for those of you who are in California, because a lot of what I'm going to share today is based on our opinions and our experience homeschooling in the state of California. Again, a lot of my opinions are going to be reflected in this video, so please take that with a grain of salt, and also don't forget to do your own personal research because each school, college, and university work a little bit differently. Now, this also can work for students younger than 9th grade. They are also eligible for taking community college courses. There are additional limitations on that, but they still can. So is it a good idea for your high school student to take community college courses? So the first thing is that you have to understand the composition of the students who are going to be in community college. A lot of these are students who have graduated from high school, putting them at around 17, 18, 19 years old. A lot of them are actually older too. A lot of them are coming back to school. A lot of them are adults who might be doing this for night school or to come back to school to further their degree. Now, that is something to consider when you're taking community college courses, and that's to understand that there are going to be a variety of ages in those classes. So if you have a student who is in 9th grade through 12th grade and you wish for them to take some classes at the local community college, the first thing you're going to have to do is get approval in order to take those classes. Now, if your student is with a public school, whether they are going to a brick and mortar public school or they are homeschooling through a public school, or you are going to a private school, you do need to get approval by your school before you can enroll in your community college courses. The other limitations are that you can only take 2 classes or up to 11 credits, and this is very specifically for students in California because I know that the credit system works differently in other states. Now, in order to get your principal and teacher to approve you taking community college courses, you may have to maintain full-time attendance and classes at your local school, and this is especially significant if you are going to a public high school. It may be less so if you are attending a private high school. If you are attending a public high school, that high school receives funding from the state for your attendance as a full-time student, so you need to maintain full-time student status if you wish to take those community college classes. Now, this may differ with your high school, but in general, that is the way it goes. Now, if you are a full-time high school student, then you still need to get your teacher or your principal's approval to take your community college classes. Now, if you're going to a brick and mortar high school, this may be more challenging in part because those classes may conflict with classes that you are currently taking. If you are a homeschooler, this may be easier and you may have more flexibility in the classes and the timings that you choose. Something else to consider is that night classes tend to have more adults in them versus the day classes. Oftentimes, when adults are coming back to school, they also have full-time jobs, which means that the night classes are the ones that they will be able to take. And this may be something that you want to consider when you are sending your high schooler into community college. Now, for us, we chose to send our high schoolers to community college starting at 10th grade. We did not send them in 9th grade. They still need a little bit of maturing to do, and this wasn't mental maturing, this was literally physical maturing. We decided that we didn't want to send our high schoolers to college until they looked like their peers and that they looked like they could be in college. This was simply a personal decision, and you can choose to do whichever you like. If you are sending younger students to community college, then I would highly recommend that they go with other students or that a parent is there on campus just for safety concerns. I think that that would be a good idea, but again, that is just a personal opinion. Alright, so what kind of classes should you be taking if you're going to a local community college? Well, this really depends on what your end goals are for high school and for college or university. If you are choosing to supplement your high school classes with community college classes, just know that those grades are going to show up on your transcript, though not all of the grades will be calculated into your GPA to transfer to university. This is important because you may decide to take some college classes, but you're a full-time high school student. You need to devote as much time to those college classes and take them seriously, because bad grades in those classes will stay on your transcript. So be sure that you're aware of the difficulty of the classes. Make sure that you attend them regularly. Make sure you understand when it's okay to drop the classes so that you don't incur any penalties. And if you wish to take them for credit, no credit, then that might be an option if you don't wish to have the grade. Now, most students will need to go through the matriculation process to figure out which classes they are eligible to take. For us, this was especially significant for math and English. Now, for my first son, we opted not to matriculate, which meant that he started in the most basic classes for English and math. And we did this for a number of reasons. The first was that prior to entering community college, my son basically had an 8th grade education. It was really important for me that he fill in any gaps missing by taking the most basic classes rather than skipping ahead. Even if he knew a great portion of those classes, I prefer that he started at the very bottom. Another reason why I wanted him to start at the very bottom is because I didn't want him to contend with new information and possibly a difficult class, in addition to just trying to figure out the community college lifestyle. So we decided to go with the most basic classes, hoping that a lot of that material was reviewed, just so that he could get his bearings with the community college environment, learn how to take tests and midterms and study and listen to lectures and take notes, because this was almost his first introduction to traditional in-the-box school. So this may be a concern for a lot of families who have only homeschooled, and they wonder how that transition is going to go. And in our experience, it went very well. And I feel in part it was because we opted to do the most basic classes. And another reason is because it was community college, which is far easier than going directly into university. Now, some of the challenges that you're going to face when trying to enroll with these classes is actually getting a good enrollment window. Now, as a high school student, you are bottom of the barrel when it comes to enrollment windows, which means that by the time your enrollment window opens up, chances are those classes may already be filled. Now, we experienced this a lot. A lot of the community colleges lately have been impacted with admissions, making it more difficult to get those basic classes, which are totally necessary so that you can finally get to your transferable classes, since our intention was for our students to head to university after doing their 2 years at community college. So how do you get around this if you want to take those classes and they are consistently filled, or you just have a terrible enrollment window? One option is to actually exit high school altogether and become a full-time college student. Now, in the state of California, you can take your CHESP exam, and it is an exit exam which allows you to become a full-time college student. There are a lot of rules and regulations regarding this test. You can find more information about that in the description box below. In general, you need to be 16 and have completed 2 years of high school before you take this test. There are exceptions to that rule. If you do take the exit exam, you are now eligible to become a full-time college student. You do not need to turn in your CHESP exit exam if you pass immediately. You can hold on to that and wait a little while longer before you show your community college that you are indeed exited from high school and can take full-time college courses. If you take your exam and wish to continue with high school, you may do that as well. Now, there are pros and cons to exiting high school early and becoming a full-time community college student. The first thing is to know that an exit exam is not a diploma and it is not a GED. You're basically not graduating from high school, and instead you're going directly into community college. This is entirely possible, and in this way you can also skip taking your SATs and your ACTs, since at this point with your 2 years of community college, those are the transcripts and the grades and the records that your university is going to look at in deciding whether you can transfer into that university. So if you wish to complete 4 years of high school with a diploma, but still take community college courses, you may do so, but the additional challenges are that it will be difficult to get a good enrollment window. This may not apply to your particular community college, but it was definitely a challenge with ours. And the other thing is that when you take your community college courses as a high school student, your community college courses are free. Now you still have to pay for books, which really gets pricey fast, but if you take your exit exam and you turn in that paperwork to your community college and you are no longer a high school student, then you are obligated to pay for your community college courses. Something else to keep in mind is that the grades that you get as a high school student before you exit or graduate are going to be on your transcript, but your grades will not be added into your cumulative GPA. The grades will still show up on your transcript, so you still need to take those college classes seriously. You do need to be aware of drop dates in case you do want to drop those courses. These classes need to be taken as seriously as if you were going to community college full-time. Now, something else to consider if you decide to attend community college while in high school, or if you decide to exit high school early in order to be a full-time community college student, and you're going to be there before your peers, it's important to understand that most of the students who are going to be attending those classes are going to be older than you. They may not have had the grades in order to get into university to begin with, although that is changing, and they may be adults who are coming back to school. You are not going to be amongst the most competitive bunch of students. Now, because community colleges are getting so impacted, and because it is becoming more difficult to get into university, and because the cost of university is so high, I feel like the composition of students in community college is slowly changing to include more of those top students who are choosing to go to community college first. But in general, you are not going to be with the most competitive bunch of students. Now, does this matter? I know that for my oldest son, when he went to community college, especially because there is so much anticipation for college, it's going to be difficult and you've got to study for it. Once he got there and he was taking those classes, for him, it was somewhat of a letdown and a little bit of a joke. These classes were really easy. The students didn't study a lot. Some of them didn't even come to class. A lot of them were older. A lot of them had graduated from high school and were in the basic classes that he was taking that were basically 8th or 9th grade level. Now, that's really different if you were to go directly into university as a freshman student. Because it's so competitive to get into universities, chances are you're with a very competitive, very studious, very driven bunch of students, which means that the grades that you're going to receive and the rigor of the classes, in my opinion, chances are is a lot higher. Now, the same thing applies if you are going to be in high school and you choose to take the basic classes versus the college-bound classes, like the honors classes and the AP classes. I found that the composition of the students in those classes varied greatly from the composition of the students who were taking the basic classes, who may not even be college-bound. They didn't seem as serious about their work. There wasn't as much competition in those classes. Now, this doesn't mean that every basic class that you take in high school is composed of students who are not college bound, or that you don't find some of those lazy students in the upper division honors classes, but in general, especially from my experience, I found that being in those upper division AP and honors classes meant that those students were all definitely university bound. Now, this varies from school to school, and as a homeschooling high schooler, you may not have these same challenges, but just know that the composition of students in a community college is going to be really different than the composition of students in the local university. Now, when my oldest son took his community college courses during his high school years, he did so as a full-time college student. He did the CHESP exam, he exited high school, and that really helped in getting the classes that he needed with a better enrollment window. It didn't solve all the problems, however, because those classes were still impacted, and often we had to go to multiple community colleges in our area in order to get all of the courses that he needed. Now, something else to keep in mind, which is really important, is knowing the big picture. As soon as your students enter 9th grade, it's as if you have to see the next 8 years of their education all at once, because where they want to go to university is going to dictate the classes they need to take in high school. And it's going to be the same if your student is going to take community college classes, either in addition to high school or in lieu of high school. You're going to need to take classes that are going to be transferable to the university that you are wanting to go to. Now, in our state, there are UC schools, so University of California schools. There are also Cal State schools, so California State Universities. And each of those different groups of schools require different courses. It's really important that you kind of narrow down your choices so that you're not taking so many different classes just to meet the needs of each of those different kinds of universities, not to mention that you might want to go out of state to a different university or a private college. There's so many things that you need to consider while taking your high school classes and while taking your community college classes. Some classes will meet the needs of both kinds of universities, and those are the ones that maybe you should take if you don't really know which university you want to go to. At least that one class will meet the requirements for both kinds of schools. I encourage you to find those ones in case you're not quite sure which direction you want to go in. The other thing to keep in mind is that you need to be your own advocate, and primarily that means that you as a parent need to know the system better than the counselors at the school. So often, students have received information from their counselors that differ from one counselor to the next. A lot of times this prolongs the whole process of being in community college, and if you are looking to exit high school early and get a head start in community college, taking the wrong courses means that you're going to be there longer than you need to be. Something else to consider is making sure that you get all of those prerequisite classes in from the start so that you're not completely done with everything except for that one class that's going to take an entire year that you couldn't take because you didn't have the proper prerequisite. This happens often where students will be completely done with all of their coursework and they're ready to transfer, and their last year consists of only one class, so not a heavy schedule at all. Try to avoid those things by taking those prerequisites early on and have a clear understanding of the classes you need to take so that you can transfer with all of your classes in place. Now, it is entirely possible to do 4 years as a homeschooling high schooler and then go directly into university. You can also do 4 years of high school and then transfer into a community college before going into university. You can also do trade school. You can get your AA degree at community college. There are a lot of choices for homeschoolers, same as there are for any other student. However, when it comes to going directly into university, it's important that you understand what requirements you're going to need to meet as a homeschooling high schooler for the university of your choice. It may include subject matter SATs, as well as your regular SATs or your ACTs, as well as all of the other things that you're going to need in order to apply to university, including your essays, your community services, and of course making sure that you've gotten all of your classes and that you've received good grades. Now, rules and regulations change all the time, so it's really important that you communicate with the college or university that you wish to attend, as well as your high school, to make sure that you have all of your requirements in order so that you can attend the college of your dreams. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below, and if you want to check out some of the other videos in this high school series, you can tap on the screen right now. And don't forget that you can find me on a daily basis by visiting me on Instagram at Pepper and Pine.